Hey, Dean, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me? I can.
Okay.
Great. We can hear you too.
Hey, Dean, can you hear us?
Oh, excellent.
I can. Can you hear me? Yes.
Oh, that's my YouTube thing. Okay, let me just mute that. Okay. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
He asked to mute the YouTube website because otherwise it's repeating. Okay. All right. And Deborah Fisher is with us from the paper here.
I got word TV, that's sound.
Okay, good. So far, so good. I have to say, and I hate to be like, but this has gone so much better than I expected. I mean, that the technology hasn't just completely.
Brian, did you say you have sound?
Yes, TV has sound.
And what period?
I have no idea.
HBCN.
HBC.
He's on YouTube. Doesn't mean anything.
Define TV, right?
Never mind.
Light on the horizon. All right, 6 o'clock, everybody. One name. Second. And I'll call to order this evening's March 1st meeting of the Wabasha City Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful to be starting at 6. Oh my goodness, I have a lot more energy now even than at 7, so this is wonderful. We have a pretty reasonable agenda tonight. Do we have any guest speakers that wanted to join us? Welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. Or any public comment. If first you want to make a public comment, you can just join us at the podium and share what you like with council. And if you'd state your name and residence for the record, if you're going to make a public comment, we'd be happy to hear from you. No, thank you. All right, any changes or additions to the agenda, Caroline? Or
Yes, Mayor, I got a question.
yes, Dean.
Do I have
Please.
to announce my location?
That's a good question. Why don't we do that for procedural sake?
All right, this is Dean Moyer. I'm located at 218 Main Street West at my residence.
Thanks, Dean. So I think we talked about this last time in terms of balancing our statutory obligations for remote meetings. If we're all remote, we don't have to say where we are. The assumption is it's a pandemic or a disaster and we can't be in City Hall. But if we're remote for another reason, that being a medical reason or a active military duty, then we have to be in a location that we can notice to the public. So thanks, Dean. Any other changes?
Just if there's any public comments on Zoom, any.
Thank you. I should be better about that. So housekeeping for Zoom. So our administrator is monitoring the Zoom and I am not. So if you would like to make a public comment, you can just speak up, or if you want to raise your hand, what you want to do to unmute yourself. I think everybody in this current group probably knows how to do this, but you go down to the lower left of your screen and hover over that bar at the bottom, and you'll see a microphone that's either muted or unmuted. If it's unmuted, you can go ahead and make a comment. And then if you'd mute yourself again after, that would be great. Any public comment from Zoom? Okay. All right. Thanks for bearing with us in this kind of hybrid model. So hearing no extra changes. We're good. All right. Then I just want to keep it brief. I think we have a very nice manageable agenda, and I'll keep it that way. But this weekend's Brumfield Men Festival was really phenomenal. It was a really nice return to some of the activities that we've missed. I know the chamber worked very hard, as did a lot of the volunteers for the plunge and other organizations. I helped with bingo at St. Felix. I stepped into the chamber office just to say thanks for everything, and they had indicated that a lot of things sold out, which is great. They had a couple restaurants reported their best day ever, which is super. I couldn't get a place to eat dinner. We ended up just kind of going out for Chinese because our other plans were, just they had too many customers, if that's a thing, at a couple other venues. That's great. I can eat at those restaurants other days of the week. So that was wonderful. Wabasha Kellogg staff and faculty were just awarded. You may have read it in the paper today. I always have these announcements and then it's in the paper because the paper covers a lot of our good news. But Wabasha Kellogg staff and faculty were the winners in the Southeast Service Cooperative walking challenge, active challenge. And they were the winners in the number of steps, and they were also the winners in the overall participation. And the picture in the paper showed 23 staff and faculty, and then they named 17 unpictured. So no wonder they cleaned house. They had 40 participants. And I know when Caroline and I were there, Ashley Shield, who's the wellness program coordinator or wellness committee coordinator, was talking about how they were getting all excited about that. So that is a very cool thing. And I noticed that there's municipal participation for anybody who thinks that would be awesome. A couple of those cities, I think Dodge Center and Byron had some city involvement. So that's very cool. Transit, as we've reported in past council meetings, we're working with the University of Minnesota on a rural transit pilot. The project is funded by MnDOT, and we just had an update with that group, yesterday? Mm-hmm. Yes. So the Minnesota Design Center team, as well as MnDOT representation, the guy that I was most keenly aware of in terms of his comments was with their innovation and implementation, who's a transit implementation manager. And they talked about strategies, everything from better utilization of school bus fleets to better utilization of our Hiawatha Valley transit infrastructure, to things like Lyft and Uber, and ways that those tools are being re-envisioned for rural use, whether it's for social services or just for regular consumer use. So they just kind of gave a brief overview. We're going to be receiving, and maybe we already did, I've been at work all day, 8 reports related to this project from I guess on different projects, and we'll be happy to share those. And then related to transit, I was invited by the new director of the Hiawatha Valley Transit to have any one of us join their advisory committee. And rather than just say, sure, I'll do it, I'll share that with everybody now that I know what the time commitment is. They meet quarterly. So if anybody would be interested in participating, their meetings for 2022 are going to be like 8:30 on a Thursday, quarterly by Zoom. So I'll send that out after so people can consider their desire to participate in that. Otherwise, it's really nice to have meteorological spring feel like spring. Maybe it won't last, but I'll take what we can get, right? Any committee reports, I'll probably go like I always do. I don't know, I'm right-handed, but I always look to Brian first. Utilities?
Sure, we don't meet till next week.
Okay.
Because of the month changeover.
Right. And Jeff and Tony, anything from streets that you want us to know about?
That's got me on the plane.
Sorry.
Street commission did not have much for it. Pool, we talked about the outdoor recreation grant, which is on the agenda tonight. We talked over a couple of issues on pool. We're going to try and get some trainings set up so we can have lifeguards in order, and then we want to try to have swimming lessons this year. So we're going to see who we're going to get coming back and what we can get for training lined up, and hopefully get that up and going. And we talked about Veterans Park grant that I applied for, and that's about it.
Okay, so I had swimming lessons thing usually sneaks up on me because it's really early, like in April. Is it gonna be delayed a little bit related to staffing, or do you still anticipate?
No, we started a little bit early with our application process, so we could get a kind of a good view of what we got coming back.
Great.
And so we got justify how much knowledge we got coming back before we could make a call, you know, to see if we have enough knowledge there
Mhm.
for, get the training done. So,
Okay. As you guys might recall, there was no, whatever the Red Cross training is, that was completely absent in 2020. Right?
yeah, we had so many new lifeguards because we had that gap with pool closure that to have a lot of 15-year-olds brand new given the training, it was
It's a lot.
kind of too big, so we chose not to. So,
All right, thank you. Awesome. I can't remember, did the Vets Memorial stuff make the paper between our meetings, or was that?
Yeah, that's come out, I think that was about 3 weeks ago that it came out. We applied for a grant, so we can see if we're gonna double our money on that. Otherwise, you know, we'll kind of rely on some more donations hopefully, but we got a good start. We've done some clearing down there, and then, you know, there's a lot more work to be done yet on design. We got a group from the VFW and the Legion that kind of have formed, so they're gonna help us, you know, with changes or things like that, so.
Awesome. Great, thank you. John, Port Authority?
4:30 did meet, although I arrived rather late.
Oh, I-
Had time to adjourn the meeting, so.
It was a nice efficient meeting.
Yeah. I'll defer to Carol.
That's right, I remember that.
Yes, I think the major changes are that Kathy Enerson has done amazing introductory work. She's just gonna go down to 1 day a week because she wants to enter a semi-retirement phase. So she'll just be leading our housing initiatives. And then the four of us, hired Beth Tomzak through CETA, or selected her as our new economic development director for Wabasha. And she will be here still on Tuesdays, plus 1 extra day a week. And she has a strong background in youth entrepreneurship, but just a lot of real life experience working at a variety of organizations. And she's on vacation this week, but definitely excited to get started. And Kathy will be doing the onboarding part for her. So we just adjusted the staffing contract to essentially we're paying for 6 days a month of services instead of just 5, because we've been so pleased with CETA's services that we've received. And then we were all asked to submit letters of support. So they are going to pursue some large funding from the state of Minnesota to support our downtown businesses. So we're very hopeful that as now a CETA member, we can take advantage of that. So that's only for CETA communities, that if they get the funds, that would be receiving basically assistance to help local Main Street businesses make improvements to their businesses.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked Tyler if he can keep an accounting going of the how much we're spending on the barge terminal. We're running some figures there, just how much money we expect to get in, trying to see, so we get an idea of what we're at with those expenditures. So I think it'd be a good idea just to keep track of that.
Yeah, and good for Newport members, of which we have a few Newport members. And then the childcare conversation continues, and actually, I think it's at this point probably more promising than ever. I've heard through the grapevine that a few individuals are interested in individual licenses for in-home childcare, which is wonderful, and we always need those people joining the force. And then we've had interest for center-based or toddler-based programs, and Kathy is helping those people kind of navigate the landscape and connect with our consultants that we've been working with through First Children's Finance and Families First. And so I know the one individual who's contacted me is really plugging along, utilizing that guidance, and they don't seem to be missing a beat, frankly. So that's good news. And that's, we hope there's more formal to come. At this point, it's in development. Okay, and Planning Commission.
We didn't meet since our last council. We met the same day. But
That's right.
we have a planning meeting on the 8th of March.
Great. Any other departmental updates that you want us to know about? I don't see any I didn't see Darren on the Zoom.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Anything for us, Joe? Okay. All right. So hearing no other reports, we'll hear from the committees. We'll hear from our administrator.
Okay, so we were funded $15,000 in a grant for SHIP to create a master trails and park plan. So we've been trying to update it for a long time, but now we have some grant funds to make it more detailed and more meaningful. So Bolton and Mank is putting together a proposal which would be shared both with parks and with this body for approval. We have on the agenda just noting $20,000 in radios covered by the reception grant. We received $2,500 from the Wabasha Kellogg Foundation towards trees. Tony and I, mainly Tony, is working on a $70,000 DNR planting grant, and Bolton and Mank is working on a $360,000 DNR grant for the athletic field, which is on the agenda, and he mentioned so. And then we're gonna be submitting a $25,000 grant for ADA improvements at the municipal pool. Mike Flaherty is drafting the legal agreements for the barge terminal project, and we're also waiting on comments from the Army Corps. I am project managing the small business HVAC grants, and I can just say, once again, heard from a business, they are very, very grateful for the help because these are kind of things that they simply can't afford with COVID hitting businesses so hard. The new computer system for the water sewer plant will be moving forward as bids have received. And then, as mentioned, we have several open positions: pool director, ambulance director, community garden coordinator, and lifeguards. Case Sharebring is joining the Wabasha ambulance service, and he started this week. He is living in Wabasha, but is originally from St. Charles.
Can I ask, what is the reception center?
When I first came, I was hoping it was a wedding venue, but it's not. It's not a reception center. It's quite the opposite. Tony, or can you explain it? Because I still don't understand.
You're looking for revenue, right? Wedding venue would be nice to have.
Make a short version of it, so, Cell Energy, when they have nuclear plants in our state, they have to provide, safety mechanism for people to evacuate, depending on which one. And so, in Minnesota, there's 8 different reception centers, and we're one of them. And I think there's 2 plants, 4 reception centers for each nuclear plant. And so if they have a release up there and the wind is going towards the cities or wherever, they're going to send everybody in the community down here. And we have to set up at the high school. And we have contracts in place with Wabasha County and with the high school for, immediate. We just evacuate the school, we set up our resources, and it's fire department, police, ambulance. We got a volunteer. I think there's probably a group of 100 people that are kind of set in place to set it up. But it's a grant that we have funded, and their fiscal year goes from July to the following June. And so we have so many dollars in that grant to use every year. And I believe it's like 35,000, and there might be a little bit more for ambulance. I think it's maybe another 8,000. But we have to justify our expenses. They have to be for use out of the reception center, either solely for that or dual use, where we can use them for our departments, and we can also use them out there. And if we don't ask, we don't. And we don't get it, so we try for several things through the year, and it has to go up to the state and get approved. And radio equipment is one thing that's pretty well guaranteed that we get upgraded. So Joe's radios are 8 years old when we first switched over, so we're kind of trying to upgrade public works, and fire, and ambulance, and pagers and radios and things like that. So they don't give us a list that's automatically approved. We have to ask every time and see if it's kind of a gamble.
Tony, you've been successful, like getting a pickup, it's big enough to haul a trailer. Road bear,
right? Yep, cones, traps, all that stuff. Yeah. And isn't this all really Homeland Security? Isn't that where the funding comes from? But it's because of the.
Yes, it's a mixture between Homeland Security and I think it's what DHS, Department of Health and Safety or something like that. And so, yeah, there's a small group of us, so we meet, department heads meet that work out there. And we try to come up with expenditures for the funds, so it's doing the best we can, what we got. Yeah, the last time I was in a reception center when the Fort Leonard went down, I was hoping it wasn't something like that. Right. Yeah, and we all said, let's hope we never have to use it.
Exactly.
After crew's probably gonna take off.
The wind changes direction.
Right,
Halfway
right.
through.
Best plans laid, right? Very good. Okay, so with that, on our consent agenda, I'll just go over a little bit because it's long. We have the resolution accepting the donation of the community roots mural. That's to ensure that if for some reason the Glander building were ever put to other use, we would be able to take that mural off and put it elsewhere, as well as insure it because it was, there was a lot of investment. Resolution approving the state of Minnesota joint powers agreement. That's with the police force and the county attorney accessing the state's criminal justice data communication network. The reception center grant of the radios that Tony just described, the 2022 brush dump contract, the holiday decorations order, which is paid for with donations, the community garden storage shed purchase, which was will be funded with SHIP funds, the resolution to sell 137 Pembroke Avenue, which we discussed in our last meeting, minutes from our special meeting of 2/22/22, the February warrants, our regular council minutes from 2/8, approval of Case, the full-time ambulance hire, St. Felix's gambling license and temporary one-day liquor license for their golf outing and fall fest in 2022, and approval of $1,782 to fix the window at the library. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh,
Second.
We have a motion from Tim. We have a second from John. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I should have asked this
Sure.
before the
No, you-
meeting. How come we have to approve the window fix?
Because it's a dollar value or is it?
Well, it was not, it's not in the budget. But I will just add to it that we are making sure that it's could not be covered by insurance first, but this is in case it can't be covered by insurance.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Any further discussion or we'll have a, we won't have to have a roll, will we have to have a roll vote with Dean on Zoom? I guess we will.
We could
Just play it safe.
just,
We don't have a lot to vote on.
okay.
All right. So any further discussion or we'll start with a roll vote? Woodley?
Yes.
Sulla?
Yes.
Redmayer?
Yes.
Falcon?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Moyer?
Yes,
Durand? Yes. Can you still hear us okay, Dean?
I can.
Great. All right, so we have no public hearing. Our general business is pretty abbreviated. I'll let Caroline talk more about the outdoor recreation grant for the athletic field.
Well, I would actually give this to Tony.
All right,
Yep.
great. Teamwork. We always make Tony go up and down, up and down.
So we've had an opportunity to use this grant before. We've tried for upgrades at Malone Park, Isaac Walton Park, for restroom leading improvements, sidewalk repairs, and different things like that. We haven't had luck with that. So it came around again this year, and we actually had a donation, and the money actually went to the Wabasha Kellogg Community Foundation, and it's being held there, but that was supposed to be towards tennis or pickleball courts, and it's still in the works yet. But that kind of led us to, okay, we haven't even advertised, we haven't even marketed the project yet. Maybe we should jump on this grant and see if we can get a kickstart from it, so we can start either phasing the project or get closer to getting something going. We talked to Brian Mullen, the city engineer, and so we have a really good chance, since it's all new, what do you want to call it? All new infrastructure, things like that. So we already have the land purchased, so that's good.
So Caroline and I went through and we filled out as much as the grant as possible that we could, and there really wasn't too much left, a little bit of technical wording that they are going to add to it, but one of the things that we have to do for the grant is to get a city council sign off on the application resolution. And there was, didn't have it in here, but is there a match, Caroline?
Always, right?
Yeah, we definitely meet the match requirements because it's a total of a 1.2 million project and we're asking for 300,000, but we might have to divide it into phases, but I can't remember the match. I think it's at least 20% or 50% even, 50%, yeah.
Great.
So, we're just here tonight to, kind of see if you guys are all ready to kind of take a step and apply for this
Yeah.
grant and see what we can do. And
Do you want to highlight anything on the map, Tony? Oops.
Well, yeah, when will we finalize the design?
so we talked with Ryan, since he's been through this project, through these projects more than we have. And before we get a group together with barely no money to work with, he said that we should apply for this grant, apply for the entire amount and see if it comes in. And then we can form a subgroup to the park board and to the city council. And that would probably be something like 9 people, people through the community that have groups, different sports and like summer rec and different things. But that's just a real preliminary drawing. We haven't determined how many sand volleyball courts yet, what we can fit with room, what is the group gonna want versus what we're thinking right now. So it's changeable. But that's kind of what we're going with now. I don't know if some of you were on probably 6 years ago. We had a few plans that were made. Some were out at the Fitzgerald, some land out there, and there was a couple different plans that were out for here, and this is one of them. So, like I said, things can change around a little bit, but that's kind of what the start of it would look like. We have hockey rink for the winter, and then you have that turned into pick the boards down, and we have basketball court for summertime. We got volleyball, sand courts. Obviously, right now we're sitting at, I think there's 9, but we have 2 on there. Brian said we might be able to fit 4 in. So it's flowable and changeable.
That'd be nice if we could get it in the paper or something, so.
Yeah, I hope it does show up in the paper. I'll tell you, this is the thing that a lot of people talk to me about, and they don't realize that prior planning work went on, because of course it wasn't highly publicized because there weren't any funds to move forward. And I love showing people that preliminary design, which is the underlay of this. And kids ask about this all the time. Where are we gonna have hockey if we don't have it here? Where are we gonna have skate park if it's not here?
Mhm.
So it's really good to see this work moving forward.
We had some debate at the Parks Commission if we should put this design out to the public, but it was just kind of felt, there was a debate. Do we get the public excited about the project now or kind of wait till we're getting closer so people, so I feel, yeah.
We felt it was better to come here first,
Mhm.
because we don't have support here, we don't want to advertise it.
Yeah.
Questions? Concerns? And obviously, if this would get accepted, we have to think about, some sort of a bond payment for the project or revenue.
Well, I'm really happy it's happening because I see this as one of the dominoes in the hopefully successful bonding initiative that we have for the Highway 60 reroute. And I wouldn't want to see us vacating athletic facilities before we have movement toward those new facilities. I'd really rather they be in place, frankly, so we don't see disruption of those opportunities. So And it's good timing.
This preliminary layout, I mean, that's just basically just to give people an idea of what could be. Nothing's in stone yet at all.
Correct.
Until we get some actual money from the entire,
Yeah, I mean, the little league fields, that stuff could change. If there's a need for, more of a legion size field, maybe that's part of it, and then they utilize the high school more on a shared basis, but it's all up in the air. So,
Very good. Well, we have a resolution before us to pursue these funds. Do we have a motion?
I make the motion.
Thank you, Jeff. We have a
I'll
first.
second.
We have a second from Craig. Do we have any further discussion? All right, we'll vote by roll. Falcon,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Moyer,
Yes.
Reedmeyer,
yes.
Solo,
Yes.
Woodley,
Yes.
Durant. Yes. Thanks, Tony. And to the Parks Commission and Brian and everybody. Very good. Okay, now the American Rescue Plan Act Grant Expenditure Plan. This is something that Caroline's been working on and consulting with all of us probably.
Well, not a whole lot, but, the American Rescue Plan Act, we only got a total of, I think it's $285,910 is the final amount. And it became more flexible with the final rule, where we originally, it said it's just for water sewer projects and giving it to other types of organizations, and the amount that you could use just for general government city operations was limited. Now that's become more flexible. But before we knew of the flexibility, we did commit that we were going to replace the water sewer computer system, mainly the sewer computer system. And what we did is that the utility funds are going to make a transfer to pay for part of that to the general fund. So it's in essence this year supporting the general fund and, controlling property tax increases. And we did get the final dollar amount. So we had estimated 180,000 for that project, and it came back at 150. And this is the draft plan that I'm seeking comment on. And then if there's consensus, I would just put it on the consent agenda in a resolution. But I've got 62,000 set aside for general government services. So that would be, we already have 20,000 committed this year, but it's just basically revenue. So to basically hold property taxes, that's what we use it for this year, is just to help our revenues. I spoke with Mayor Durand about small grants to childcare businesses, because that's one of our priorities. And it was a program that was proposed at one point and then kind of died because there wasn't funding available. And we just talked about having Kathy from CETA, or actually Beth from CETA, help us manage it. And it would just be small grants to childcare businesses in Wabasha to make improvements to their businesses. And then I have included a request for small grants to businesses wishing to replace the HVAC system. What's happening here is we did not have sufficient funds to fund all the requests, and many of the applicants were being asked to, match with their own funds 50% or more. And as I'm talking to businesses, again, they really suffered during COVID. And there is potential for future reimbursement by HUD. So this $48,000 could go back towards general government services if I don't get those additional HUD funds. But I would like to set it aside so that we can just say to every business, we'll fund you, you pay for 20% of the cost of the HVAC replacement, and the Port Authority or the city would pay the rest. And what I need is $48,000 to fund all the businesses that we approved last month. We had previously approved $6,400 towards a Southeast Minnesota regional transportation planning. And I checked in them. They have a fiscal sponsor, and that's moving forward, and ourselves and Chatfield and maybe a few other communities, they're getting some sponsorships from the workforce. And then finally, we've been talking about some upgrades for being able to have online bill pay for a utility bill and do electronic purchase orders. And then Dean, this past year, when we were doing the capital improvement budget and trying to explain to the public what was in our public improvement budget, we realized we're really limited by what an Excel spreadsheet could do. So Councilmember Moyer encouraged me to look at what Lake City uses, which is kind of organized with photos and planning out, here's what our capital expenditures are going to be. And they pay for a software where the initial 1-year fee is $1,000 and thereafter it's $500. So I'm also requesting a small amount so that we can get software for capital planning. And that would just help us have our department heads plug it into the software, and it would just organize it in a little easier way than a huge spreadsheet.
I'll speak to the childcare piece. It was sort of brought to my attention that ARPA would be good funds to utilize for this childcare initiative when I spoke with 3 other mayors on a panel when these funds were first released, and everybody was real speculative because the Treasury guidance was almost non-existent at that point. But they pointed out how hard hit childcare has been during this pandemic. Everything from families bringing their children home because they are remote or because of the stay-at-home order, and then wanting to keep their childcare and essentially not paying for that place, not paying for that held spot. And I had local providers verify that did in fact happen to them. Additional hours, crazy different, absences of kids related to COVID exposure. And the other thing that I verified, because I wasn't sure about this, when our child care group first initiated, we were advised by the consultants to recommend a $2,000 or $1,500 grant to childcare businesses. And our Port Authority was pretty lukewarm on that. And I think there was some conjecture that how can that much really make a difference? And so that too was validated by our existing providers and new people who are interested in new licenses. That would absolutely make a difference. And that the examples that they gave are explicit ones that our providers or people interested have said, I got to get a new door. I suppose between the garage and the house, there's certain fire requirements. Equipment, their equipment wears out. I mean, if you had a kid in daycare, you can see how hard hit their playground equipment is and that kind of thing. And they said even potties, there's many children in these little facilities. So I said, that's great. That's all really helpful because we can't envision what difference that makes for your business. Fencing is another example. So that is with some local research, even prior to ARPA funds, we're just trying to kind of figure out what's needed and how much would those needs cost.
So Carolyn, you have crystal clear direction that these uses of this money are authorized if they fit the criteria.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at all the guidance. I think the auditors volunteered to help, but there's a lot of webinars out there. So Em's looked at them, I've looked at them, Tyler's looked at them, like definitely water sewer infrastructure, definitely general government services after the final rule, and then definitely assistance to small businesses and transportation. It's become really flexible with the final rule. So
I'm all in. I like it's really developed into a good list.
I think at first we were all kind of caught off guard and thought, well, where are the big ticket items within city government? And we've done that. That's important. But then there's these other needs that can be addressed. I think that would be.
If it's in the Port Authority strategic plan, then we just adapt it. Right on.
So that plan is for our consideration, but not for our action tonight.
yeah, I will do a resolution to make it official, and yeah, I know the small business will be excited, so.
Okay, so now we have a resolution on redistricting ward boundaries. You got the agenda description. So for the public's benefit, cities with wards are required by the state to redistrict ward boundaries to ensure compliance with ward population equality and other legal requirements. This has also happened, of course, at the state level. Per Minnesota statute, in a city electing council members by wards, wards shall be as equal in population as practicable, and each ward shall be composed of a compact contiguous territory. So due to changes in the census, City of Wabasha has to approve new ward boundary maps, and they must be approved by March 29th. Staff have worked with County GIS to draw new maps which create ward population equality. And it's required every 10 years. So the charter is silent on a redistricting process. We're being responsive to statute. There is a voter's right to contest. Minnesota's law provides guidance to citizens. They have a right to contest local government election district plans. And any voter wishing to contest a city ward redistricting plan or to compel other redistricting must file that with the district court in the county by the appropriate date. So if the redistricting plan is approved before March 29th, 2022, the voter must file within 3 weeks, but no later than April 5th. If the redistricting plan is approved after March 29th, the voter must file within 1 week of adoption. There's lots more information about this on the state's website. You should go to the agenda for that URL. It's a state website on redistricting. And also, apart from the redistricting, the city must establish an annual polling location. So in the fall of 2020, the city of Wabasha was forced to relocate Ward 3 polling from Maple Grove Apartments and combine it with Ward 1. That was, of course, due to COVID. That's a residence where that polling location had taken place. Located, so now Ward 1 was and is at the Wabasha Fire Hall at 113 Hiawatha Drive West. The fire hall actually proved to be an efficient location, not only for space, but for the ability of staff to be more accessible during election events. And staff has coordinated with Wabasha's fire department to secure the site for a foreseeable future and be designated as the central polling location for all 3 wards. Since the city is in the timeframe of ward boundary redistricting, we're also required to establish our polling place, and that's included in the resolution. The map is still pending final reviews, or do we have that one? We have that. That was provided to us online and it's printed here. Yep. So we do have the final map. It's intended to provide council with an initial look. And if it requires additional information and discussion, we'd have to have a special meeting for that, which is fine. The new map would be approved or must be approved by March 29th, 2022. So we've got the map up in front of us. The aqua is the current Ward 1. The gold is current Ward 2, right? And lavender is current Ward 3. You can see an area outlined with aqua blue-green that's outlined in purple, and that would be proposed to join the purple Ward 3. And then you can see a smaller area that's aqua outlined in gold, and that would be proposed to join the adjacent Ward 2. So we have those contiguous wards as required by statute. Anything further for us to understand?
That's a good question.
Well, section that's going from Ward 1 to Ward 3 that's adjacent to Hiawatha, taking a large chunk of commercial property. Did you pay any attention to that, or you're just looking for a head count?
So in the map that comes from the county, it's probably the first attachment that's on there, and it's the top one.
Where is that one?
If you voter count. So
Yeah,
Which
that's
one?
That's the first.
Right, count looks even.
yeah, so when we did that, what we try to do is make contiguous lines rather than try and, from a zoning standpoint, what we would call spot zoning, and grabbing odd sections across it from where the pink is currently on the west side. We wanted to grab the yellow that stays south of the Grant Boulevard instead of crossing over. The 150 includes everything in the healthcare center. And those homes that are on the river side of the Grant Boulevard. So we wanted to make sure that the map continues.
I'm just thinking that it's kind of contiguous the way it's set up, but one thing that I always, and you can jump in any time, but one thing that I always was surprised at, and a lot of people are, is that there's still a section of the west side, what we call the west side, that's in Ward 1. Yeah, so I'm wondering, would that be a consideration? Would you get enough people to transfer that on?
Hopefully with this formation of the charter commission, maybe we can get rid of the wards. That might be a problem anymore. That's kind of the goal.
And that's to the opposite of that.
I think when redistrict, that's strictly a head count.
Well,
Has nothing to do with
registered
property
voters.
value.
Yeah, no, so.
It's all
it's a number of,
Which is how the state's redistricting works.
Without affecting too many people, I mean, you could redraw lines and say from the slew of everything to the west, you could jump into Ward 3, but then you're affecting a larger chunk of voters in the redistrict, I think, because there'd be more people shifting if we did it that way. And then you have to pull probably away from Ward 1, push to Ward 2 to even it out. I think what we looked at was what would be the easiest, wasn't going to affect as many people. The only part I didn't like so much was the Ward 1, the Ward 2, that little chunk down in the corner, but outside of maybe grabbing part of Lawrence Boulevard East section with the condo townhomes down there,
It's a little tad either way, right?
it is, either way it is, yeah. I had the map all sorted and it looked a lot better, and then I got a remap with the redistribution of numbers, because they told me I transposed their numbers and they put Ward 3 numbers in Ward 1, so I had them at, oh, that's neat. It looks nice and it's split. And then I had to redo it really well. So
Craig's question was about commercial, so there's still, I don't know if it's an equal balance of commercial, but just for that argument, there's still significant commercial in all wards. There's the marina, there's,
so there's lower and upper marina, they're gonna extend both into 2 and 1.
right,
And then you have all the industrial, obviously, on Ward 3.
and the healthcare center
And healthcare center would be in Ward 1. Well,
and Cardinal.
the other health, there's 2
Right.
healthcare centers, so there's
Right.
2 and 3. Yep. And then you have school down on this end in Ward 2, too, so churches, schools.
Interstate.
So CJC, all of that as well, so I think it's a pretty decent mix without getting too complicated with that, but I even looked at taking it straight across on 4th Grant and coming straight down to pull in for Ward 3, but and then we were gonna be affecting current council members with wards, so nobody at this point is currently affected, not that it would matter.
You can get,
You can stay. you can go-
Redistricted out of
you can
your
get
ward.
redistricted, yeah, but then like for the next election, you just have that word.
Right. Anybody have any other further comment? We have a resolution before us.
No, my only question, I'm fine with redistricting the polling place. Do we want to include the ambulance station as well in that, or is the fire department going to include?
They'll take all of them.
Seems
I had a good
like a
discussion
lot.
with
This
Darren
is what,
this morning. We ran it during a presidential election, in 2020 for 2 wards, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I would say that.
The one nice thing,
And high turnout.
obviously.
Yeah.
Polling places can be changed if we need to. This next election is not a presidential election. We will not have the turnout that we will have. It would be a great year to do a trial one for all 3 wards and see if there's any bugs that we need to look out for the election. Tony, I think you and I talked about having adequate space up front that's been designated to do for handicap. It's flat, they can come in the door, it's all, there's workable bathrooms there, there's everything that we need, and it would be one site location for staff to be instead of running to 3, well, it was 3 locations. 3 locations is very difficult to run between, especially if there's an issue. It will cut down on a few election judges, so in terms of costs, we would save a little bit in payroll for, we were thinking maybe 6 judges, and you figure in 6 judges, 6 meals, and right now, it's not easy to come by election.
Right.
So we were begging the way it was the last time, so it's a difficult position to fill.
Parking is gonna be a trial.
We're good. All right, we have this resolution before us. Anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the redistricting map and establish the polling place, singular polling place, the fire hall. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote by roll.
I think Dean.
Dean, please, go ahead.
I just want to thank the staff for all the work that they did on this.
Yeah. It's like Jenga, but a lot less fun. Or Tetris, but a lot less fun, right? Right. I second that. Thanks. Thank you. All right, hearing no further discussion, we'll vote by roll. Friedmeier,
Yes.
Sella,
Yes.
Woodley,
Yes.
Warwick,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Moyer,
Yes.
Durant. Yes. All right, we then would have the opportunity to have a motion approving the resolution to accept the donations to the city in all for the library this month. $50 from Val and Joe McGrath in honor of Mary Funk achieving Life Master in Bridge. That's very specific and exciting. $20 in memory of Jim Raymer by Allison Jarstad. $20 in memory of Jim Raymer by Dave Kennebec. Also in memory of Jim Raymer, $5 by Jean Andres Passy. $50 in memory of Mary Lou Schuweiler by Linda Tenney. $50 in memory of Harry Meyer by Jean Johnstad, and $250 from Carol and Steve Scott. We have a motion to approve those generous donations.
I move.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first from Tim and a second from Jeff. Any further discussion? All right, we'll vote by roll and then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn absent any announcements. Woodley,
Yes.
so
Yes.
Greenmeyer,
Yes.
Moyer,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Durant. Yes. Do we have any announcements? All right, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second.
Thank you, Tim. We have a second from John. Any further discussion? And we'll vote by roll. Greenmeyer, keep Jess out.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Woodley,
Yes.
Moyer,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Ulrich.
Yes.
Durant. Yes, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for those online. We appreciate you sticking with us in this temporary, we don't know how temporary, but we'll keep up the hybrid piece as long as it makes sense. And we hope that our cases keep going down, down, down. So everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.